Hi, everybody. This is Aaron Maslansky, the host of Inside the Skev. I'm recording this intro on Saturday night, March 21st. And when I recorded this upcoming episode here with Harry Gottlieb, Harry does a lot of different things, among them Jackbox games, and he's also working on ways to get America to come together to come to consensus on solutions for different things that are coming up. And when we spoke, coronavirus was not any part of any conversation. It wasn't on our radar at that point. And, the world has changed. But as you listen to this conversation with Harry, a lot of what he does is to try to figure out how to get people together. And whether it be by consensus or whether it be by a game, it's something that has been a passion of his life, and I imagine that it's something that is going to be very important with the world ongoing. And, as we sit here in our homes and we are sheltering in place, his games, Jackbox games, are a way to bring people together. And, tomorrow night, I think I'm going to be playing with some friends, one of his games over Zoom. So it's amazing how things adapt, and I'm so appreciative of what Harry has done over the course of his life and how it's helping even in these trying times. So take a listen. It's a thoughtful conversation. I hope everyone is safe, staying healthy, staying sane. And also, just a reminder, I do have on skevinston.com on my website, I am interviewing people for live conversations over Zoom. And how they're responding. So that's going to be ongoing as long as this goes. And you could follow it on my Facebook page. I'll be having the conversations live. I'll be posting on LinkedIn, wherever I am on social media, and those videos will be posted to YouTube. At this point, they won't be part of the podcast itself because it's separate of it, but you should be following if you want to stay in tune with what's going on here. So thank you so much. Welcome to Inside the Skev, and I'm your host, Aaron Maslansky. Today we're sitting down with Harry Gottlieb, and Harry has been involved in many different things throughout his career. If you know the game, you don't know Jack, that is Harry's creation. And he's working on some different things to, unify the community, really bring democracy and make it remain here in America. And we're going to talk a lot about all these different things that Harry is up to. So, again, thanks so much for being here.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, it's great to talk to you because you do have so many different things that you do. You're a multi-potentialite. I've talked to some people who are like that. And
I'm sorry, what is the word?
A multi-potentialite. And it basically means that you just have, from what I can gather, you have so many different things that you do that it's like various interests, but they seem to tie together. And I look back at your background, and you have a degree in individualism and community and the possibilities of balance that you got when you were in undergrad. So how does that tie into video games and the things that you've done or do now?
So that's interesting that you looked that up. That's my parents to this day couldn't tell. Somebody says, "What did your son major in college?" They would have they're like something. It was something. I don't know what it was. But yeah, I was very interested early on in this question of the balance between the individual and the community. And that has manifested itself, I think, mostly in the culture of the companies that I've started, Jellyvision and Jackbox Games. It's really like, how do you allow people to become the best version of themselves, and in so doing, create a community, a company that is the best version of itself. Mm-hmm. So that's what I think I've done in the past. And what I'm doing going forward is I've started this not-for-profit called Unify America, began doing real research this summer. I had actually piloted it when I was 26, but it was too early. We needed the internet, and the internet was just kind of being born.
Why did you need the internet back then?
Well, the problems were certainly already in place, which is the country was really having difficulty coming together to do anything really significant, take on any ambitious projects. And so the thing that we focused on was, at the time, gun violence. And it's all these years later, and it's...
What years was that?
It was 1993. 1993, and it was like, oh my God, we haven't been able to do anything about gun violence. What should we do?
Right.
It's been decades.
27 years since then.
Yeah, and it's like it's still, but it's also true. And we're still stuck on. Look at immigration. There was Obamacare, but Obamacare was effectively some insurance regulation. It doesn't solve the real problem of dealing with the cost and accessibility and efficiency of our healthcare system for everyone. We infrastructure, we don't have a solution for that. You can kind of go down the list of all the things, education, that we still are struggling with, and we have been unable to launch any kind of ambitious solution that has broad-based support for decades.
Why do you think that is? Why can't we figure out solutions to problems?
At the national level, there's a lot of things that have changed in the world, mostly for the good. I wouldn't say that the internet is like a negative force, but it giveth and it taketh away,
mm-hmm.
and we're able to get information really easily. But the side effect is that we've also been able to be bifurcated as a country, and kind of. This is well known that we kind of live in our bubbles, and we therefore start to demonize each other because we aren't reading each other's information. We don't know each other. We're not even living in the same spaces anymore. And so this polarization on one level is a big part of the problem, and that then shows up in our politics and in the way that our government works. But this is the fact that we've demonized each other, like political parties have demonized each other, or conservatives and liberals. That's nothing new. That's also been going on for a very long time.
We had a little war back in the 1860s about that too.
Yeah. Well, and also, we had a war in the 1860s, but the last time the country was really, really united was arguably when Washington was president. There was a period when Madison was president where there was this kind of feeling of unity, but by and large since then, the way the system is set up, and this is from the founders on, the way the system is set up is we debate it out, and in the process of debating it out, we kind of come to a resolution and we compromise. Well, now it's extremely difficult to compromise because that's seen as capitulation. Right.
It's all win-lose.
Except it's all lose-lose is what it really is. When you win by 51%, nobody's winning.
Right.
Not in a country of 350 million people. You win by 51%. That's a lot of people who feel like they're not represented, no matter who's in power. So it's what can we do about that? And what Unify America is doing. And I'm by the way, I'm going to circle back to your question about why do we need the internet. Fine. I did not forget your question. The research that I started to do during the summer is I have grown up in a sea of progressive liberalism. I went to Brown University, and I live in Evanston, Illinois. Yes. It's I might as well be at Berkeley. Mm-hmm. That said, I've also never really completely felt comfortable in the skin of the words liberal or even the word Democrat. That's never. I'm I really feel like I'm much more of an American than I am either of those things, and have always kind of been able to see the criticism of people on the left, and I sympathize with that, but also see the criticism of sort of people on the right, and ultimately come to the conclusion that this terminology, this left right, it's sort of convenient from a human perspective because we want to put people in the buckets, but it's ultimately very, very problematic. And the reality is, and this is what I found through this research I did this summer, is that we have the same goals. So the research I did, so getting out of my bubble, I toured through 7 states in the South. It was like Louisiana and Texas and Alabama and Georgia and Tennessee. I was in Washington, D.C. I was in North Carolina. And speaking mostly, maybe 90% to Trump voters, born-again Christian, evangelicals, Republicans, or at least people who tend to vote Republican, and asking survey questions about goals for the United States. So the hypothesis is that we're not divided.
Yeah.
It's an illusion. Like we demonize each other over things like gun control. Gun control isn't a goal. Gun control is a tactic. Reducing violence is the goal.
Right. Nobody would argue against that.
Right. But we argue about Obamacare or Medicare for all. These are tactics. Like the goal is high quality, affordable, accessible health care for everyone. We demonize each other over the border wall. I'm finding that almost everybody, not everyone, but almost everyone, thinks that we should be able to regulate the border. Like that's not really particularly contentious.
Right.
And the list goes on. I mean, even abortion. Like there's no one running around saying we should have more abortions. People who are very pro-choice think that we should reduce the number of abortions, just not by outlawing it.
Right.
But there's other methods.
Nobody wants to have that done.
Right. So this we have this, like the thing that actually matters, we agree on. We all want the nation to go in the same direction. And we're arguing about how to get there, but we don't even realize that that's what we're arguing about. Because if that's all we were arguing about and we were aware that we had the same goals, we would be much less hostile to each other.
Do you think politicians do that as a tactic on their end in order to be able to get the votes that they need?
Yeah, but I'm loath to kind of blame politicians for the system that we all sustain. Like, it's just a reality, and someone who's advising a politician on their campaign, it's just a reality that currently, because of us, fear tactics and scare tactics work. They do.
Yeah.
And then, like, telling people that if you vote for the other person, like, all this horrible stuff will happen, even though the other person may be like, they're as patriotic and committed and want to do the right things, but you have to tear them down. And that, unfortunately, works. But that's on us.
So what is Unify America going to do?
The first thing that we're doing is this survey called the Survey of American Aspirations and Beliefs. And we're going to demonstrate, we're going to prove out this hypothesis. We're going to demonstrate we really do have the same goals. There's about 60 items in this survey. Mm-hmm. My prediction, based on doing so far about 75 interviews one-on-one to kind of shape the wording of the survey, my prediction is that on, let's say, 50 of those statements, over 90% of Americans will agree with them. Wow. And covering immigration, violence, healthcare, politics, business, the economy, like really like the full gambit of subjects. And then let's say 20 to 25 of those statements are statements of belief, like things about, like every human life is of inherent and extraordinary work. We should be responsible for ourselves and our children. We should provide a safety net for those who cannot care for themselves, like these kinds of statements. And again, I think it's going to be for most of those statements, 90% of Americans. Like it's not like we're a little bit unified. We're like radically unified, and we don't even realize it.
If you take out the questions that make it so divisive and you get to the heart of the issue, you feel like then you can start to work on tactics that people can agree on?
You got it. That's perfect segue. So the next step is, and it's a big step, is taking, this is the kind of the big goal. Mm-hmm. I would say the big initial goal is pulling together 1 million Americans from all walks of life across the political spectrum and engage them in, let's call it a year-long process, spending 2 or 3 hours a week, examining information, and a process that leads towards a consensus among this 1 million Americans, let's say a 90% consensus, on a shared set of solutions to achieve one of these shared national goals. But it happens outside of the political system, because it's really hard for politicians. I mean, I think most politicians go into it really wanting to do good, as they understand it, and then find themselves in a system that, as I say, we perpetuate, that we sustain, that makes it very, very difficult for them to get anything done at all, because if you can't compromise. But Americans who don't have to get reelected can. And the idea of consensus, I mean, this is very much, this whole idea is very much inspired by our founders' belief in us, that regular people can, on a jury, dispense justice for their fellow citizens. Now, granted, the founders were white property owners, mm-hmm. but like many things where the founders started off in a much constrained idea of who should be the beneficiary of these liberties and these freedoms and this responsibility, we've expanded that. And so that idea, and it's one of the few places in American life where a group of people, strangers, need to come together around a consensus. And it's not perfect, but it works pretty well.
It's pretty fair.
It's pretty fair. But here's the thing about a jury that's really different about us as citizens trying to participate in national civic life. A jury, everyone has the same information. Like, you don't get to be like, hey, dudes, like, I got a thing on Tuesday. So somebody can take notes and show it to me. Like, everyone's got to have the same information.
Yeah.
And right now, of course, in our national life, we not only have different information, we have radically different and bifurcated information.
Yeah, we have different facts to deal with.
We have different facts, right. We're given different facts. Whereas, in a court of law, the fact-finding process, actually, there's a process for fact-finding, and there's a judge who is kind of participating in the process of determining, like, what gets presented and what doesn't get presented.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't pass muster because it's overtly not a fact, then it shouldn't be. It doesn't get presented to the jury.
Right.
So similarly,
gets tossed.
Yeah. So similarly, what if we also followed that same process, but not towards dispensing justice, but toward helping Americans identify what should we do about immigration or violence or the economy, et cetera.
So it's a unique way of going about it. And, I mean, do you take what you've done in your other roles running different, Jackbox games and Jellyvision into this? And how do you do that?
Yeah, I know. It seems really quirky. Jackbox is a video games company, and Jellyvision, it's had many lives, but currently, our big product helps people select their benefits and their medical insurance plans, but without making them tear their hair out. It's we actually get people to laugh while they're picking out their medical plan.
Well, I mean, is it just going in a different direction to get to a difficult decision on something in a way?
Well, certainly, yes. It's similar to Jellyvision, and that Jellyvision's kind of stock in trade is making complicated, sometimes boring subjects engaging and helping people make decisions. So for sure that skill set is going to be brought to bear for Unify America, because if you're trying to get 1 million Americans to understand complex issues, and I believe it's really possible to do so, but the information has got to be presented in a clear and engaging way. So yes on that. But I think even more so, which goes back to your kind of earlier question about
the internet.
The internet. But I was going to say, yeah, I'm going. Wait, I'm not. This is how we're going to bookend this whole thing, Aaron.
Exactly.
To my college major. One of the things that I'm proud of about Jellyvision and Jackbox is, we're part of that wave of companies that started in we basically started in the 90s, that had a different idea about the relationship between kind of leadership and employees, or really the company and its staff, that we tried to do things in a way that is humane. And so, like, one of our core ethos of the company in terms of the culture is like everyone must be honest and must also be kind simultaneously. Like, it's not helping us if you don't speak up, but if you speak up because you've got to be self-righteous about it, that's not a place anybody wants to work.
No.
And we want to trust you, and do trust you to be an adult. Amanda Lannert, who's the CEO of Jellyvision now, I'm blessed with two really great CEOs. The CEO of Jackbox is Mike Builder. But Amanda, when she took over the reins, really codified the totality of our kind of employee policies in the very simple idea of use good judgment. Like, when in doubt, see step one, And
it always leads to the right answer.
Yeah, and what I really, it's not that I believe this, I've seen it, is that you take people and you put them in an environment that is dysfunctional, that doesn't ask them to be the best version of themselves, where people around them are not being the best version of themselves, and then people follow suit because that's the adaptive thing to do in that environment, to survive and succeed. But when you put people into an environment and you say, be the best version of yourself, and you see other people around you like really being the best version of themselves, like and enacting their better angels, which is from Lincoln, people step up to it because we have the capacity to do both.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's like all of us, right? Like, we're the worst sometimes and sometimes we're the best. But you can be the best if you're in an environment that is inviting you and expecting you to be the best.
Right. I think that's the key to really think about, is that anything can be positive or negative. It's how we use it, whether it be a tool or ourselves.
I think that is absolutely true. Yes. There's so many things where, Facebook is so interesting because when Facebook came out, I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. Like, look at all these people who would normally fall, wouldn't lose contact with each other, and now they're staying connected, and it's wonderful. And then things keep going, and there's also a dark side to this as well. Mm-hmm. But it's both. That's the thing, is that it's very easy to just look at things in black and white ways, but it's both.
Yeah.
And so many things are both. So the question is, what do we do so that we spend more of our time doing the things that are good with the tools or with ourselves and with our lives versus the things that are bad? And that's the core of what it means to be human, right? It's you're wrestling with the choices that you have and hopefully making the better ones.
Right. When you made You Don't Know Jack, that game was in the 90s. The internet was not totally out everywhere. People had to buy CD-ROMs to get the game. And that was, it's so much fun. It is a great game.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I remember playing it with my family in the 90s, when it first came out. And it just brought everyone together, and it's hysterical. But it brought people together. Was that kind of your vision with that, or how did that start?
Yeah, that is 100% the vision. Video games, the earliest video games were always like two-player Pong and stuff like that. I shouldn't say that. Some of those games you could play by yourself.
Yeah.
But even at that time, there was this tendency for video games to be people sitting by themselves. And I'm not a big game person anyway, But the thing that I love about games, like board games, is that we're all together. And it's like less about the game and it's more about the interaction between people that the game elicits.
Oh, for sure.
Right? So, yeah, when people talk about You Don't Know Jack, like when you were playing You Don't Know Jack, when you think like, oh, the game was so much fun, you were talking about doing it, playing that game with other people.
Yeah.
People come up to me all the time, be like, oh my God, like I met my wife, playing You Don't Know Jack, and my family is, we hate each other. And it's like, but then I put on You Don't Know Jack at Christmas and like everybody was laughing together and it was great. So those are the stories that I love. Very rarely do I hear people be like, oh, dude, I loved You Don't Know Jack. I sat in my room by myself playing it for like months on end. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't happen.
It's never been the experience that I've had with it.
No, it's always people together. And of course, the games that we do now at Jackbox are frankly much better than You Don't Know Jack at that. I mean, we have 30 games now called the Jackbox Party Packs, six packs of 5 games each. And the way the games work is you start the game up on your TV using almost anything, any console, PlayStation, Xbox, Fire TV, Apple TV, whatever you have plugged into your TV.
Yeah.
And then once the game starts, it gives you a URL, jackbox.tv, and a game code, AAAB. So you go to jackbox.tv, you type in AAAB, you put in your name, and boom, your name is up on the TV screen. And so is everybody else's who's holding their phone doing the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's so cool that works like that. So easy.
It's really easy. And so we have all these party games but many of the games now are creative. You've got to come up with lies, you've got to do drawings. And so it's taking what we started with You Don't Know Jack and really trying to bump it up a bunch of notches in terms of creating a game where people can really laugh and enjoy each other's company. And I will say that for Unify America, we're going to be attempting to create that as well, because really this is a movement that we're trying to move forward Americans, we not only have the same goals, we can by consensus. I mean, obviously this is a huge experiment, but we can by consensus using facts and reason and empathy come to actual real ambitious solutions for how to move forward. And but in order to do that, you have to create community.
Right.
People need to feel like they're part of something and be connected to other people. And so, yes, the video game work that we do really does a great job of that. I don't know that we'll create a bunch of games or something, but we're going to take the essence of that idea and apply it for trying to unify the country.
It's interesting. As we're talking, I'm thinking about it, and this show, I try to have people be able to listen to each other, connect, and I think you're my third guest who it has something to do with video games. And in a way, everybody is trying to do a similar thing by connecting people. So it's people think about it sometimes where you're in solitude. Again, it's the same thing, that a tool can be used for positive or for negative. And you hear so many people talk about how video games promote violence because of certain games. But it can be done the other way, where people are together and laughing and connecting.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, it's the thing about the Jackbox games, I mean, this is are you a dad?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you'll get this. My kids actually ask to play the games and have their friends come over to play the games. And so, in general, as you know, dads are not cool.
Oh, for sure not.
There's a lot of eye rolling, when you're a dad that's coming your way. And it's the one thing where I get to I have my little bit of coolness because I started this company with this to have these games that my kids actually want to play with their friends. So yeah, that's my big claim to fame inside my family.
Yeah. Did you actually code it, or was it an idea that you had and you had somebody write it? How did that work?
Back in the day.
Yeah.
It was 1994, and I had an Apple laptop called what's it called? God.
Was it
MacBook? This was the MacBook 170. What's it called? The MacBook PowerBook.
PowerBook.
PowerBook 170.
Was the IBM one that they had, or the IBM chip?
No, well, I don't know what chip. I don't think it had maybe it had an IBM chip. Yeah. I don't know. PowerBook 170, which I loved, and I'd taken a couple of coding classes in high school, but basically taught myself how to code using this very simple language called HyperCard that came with the Macintosh. And so I prototyped the game on that using HyperCard in ways that it was not really meant to be used, with like multiple channels of audio and like this kind of, dude talking to you, asking you questions and multiple choice answers, and depending on what we pick, you'd have a smart alecky response, and then took that prototype to San Francisco and took it around to publishers, and found a great publisher called Berkeley Systems. I had a friend there who was actually the reason I was even doing this prototype in the first place. His name is Igor Kozowski. And it was amazing. I mean,
did it shock you how popular it got?
Yeah, it did. I mean, the real shock was, I've been really banging my head against the wall trying to. We had a game before this that was also an interactive quiz game called That's a Fact, Jack, which was a quiz show about works of young adult literature for middle school students. And it was not just like, did this happen and that happened? It was asking kids to make inferences and answer hypothetical questions to see if they really understood the book. It was really like pedagogically rigorous, but also fun. And it's really, really hard to break into the school market. It's really tough. And so, lots of years working on that, and then did this prototype, went to San Francisco, and it was like every place I went, we demoed the game, and it would start off with 4 or 5 people, but because of the sound, other people from the publisher would just like start coming in the room, and like by the end of the game, there'd be like 30 people in the room, like howling, and I was like, I call my friends back in Chicago, including my friend Michelle Sobel, who at the time his name was Michelle Gorchow, and who's now working with me again on Unify America. It's my creative director, and had worked with me on You Don't Know Jack. And I'm like, oh my God, you can't believe what's going on here. Like, I don't know what's going on. And so, people were like, okay, don't go to any other publishers. Like, we want to make a deal with you right now. And I was like this day where I'm like, okay, everything's going to be different now.
Yeah.
And I was, I was like 29, 30. So I'd been at it for, 6-7 years before like I had my first pop. So it was very satisfying.
Sure.
It was very satisfying. Yeah.
I think, you worked your butt off though to get to that point, right? It's not like it just took off in a second.
Oh, and then it's like, endless number of hours. I was working, I would say I was working a minimum of 80 hours a week until my oldest son was born.
Wow.
Yeah. I have friends, another friend who lives in Evanston, Evan Chikover, who's the CTO of Jackbox, who said, there was 2 Jellyvisions. There was Jellyvision before Lewis was born and Jellyvision after Lewis was born. Because I think, even though I never, like, I wasn't like, you've got to work. But, when you're the leader and you kind of set the tone, everybody thinks that they've got to work crazy hours. And then, like, when Lewis was born, my oldest, I was like, I'm up in the middle of the night feeding him and diaper changing, and I couldn't do both, and I didn't want to miss out on him being enjoying him as a baby. And so I think everyone's like, okay, we can go down to 55, 60 hours a week now,
Yeah, take it easy. Do you think if you didn't work that hard, it would have been as successful at that, up until that point?
That is a really interesting question. If I had the wisdom that I have today, probably would have been, but I didn't. And when I say that, I mean, when you're young and you're getting things off the ground, you waste a lot of time because you're doing things that you don't need to do, or you're doing things in a way that's like really inefficient. And I'm probably worse than most because now in Chicago, if you want to start a tech business, the ecosystem of assistants is insane. I mean, it's huge. I mean, it's like, oh, you want to be an entrepreneur? Here's like 4 different programs you can apply to get funding and mentorship. And I mean, I had like my Uncle Leonard and my dad. That was like my Uncle Leonard who incorporated me because he was a lawyer. And like, my dad who knew nothing about software, like as a real estate guy, it was in the thoroughbred horse business and real estate. So it wasn't like he was like really
not the same.
But the assistance that I got from him in terms of just thinking about business was completely invaluable. I would actually say that like the understanding I gained from my mother about dealing with human beings was also invaluable, but not like today, where you want to do, here's 5 mentors who've all been successful in various forms of business, and they can all help you. I mean, I had nothing, so yeah, I think I did a lot of wheel spinning.
Yeah.
That if I'd known more, I probably could have worked less and still have done just as well.
Were there people though that inspired you to do something like this beforehand? I mean, if your parents were not in that business, but did your mother inspire you to make these kinds of community connections?
No, it was as far as that goes. No, I don't know where that came from.
Just from within?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think because I find so much meaning working on a team. Yeah, I mean, when we had our first really huge success with You Don't Know Jack in 1995, it came out in October. The guy who's founded Berkeley Systems, his name is Wes Boyd, who then later like sold it and went on to found MoveOn.org went during the Clinton years. Who's a wonderful, wonderful guy, and interestingly, like at least back then, was like much more moderate than the community that he gave birth to. And we actually talked at that time about what Unify America is doing.
Oh, back then even.
Yeah. Well, because I did this pilot back then. Wes flew the whole team, which was 12 people from then, it was called Jellyvision Games, now Jackbox Games, to San Francisco, put us up in the Ritz-Carlton. We thought, like, this is the greatest thing in the world. We got a stretch limousine in which we all fit in the one stretch limousine. It was great. And I'm like, this only matters because this success is shared with these people that I worked hard with and who I love. Like, that's why it mattered. If it had been me alone, it would have felt hollow. Mm-hmm. Or if I had pretended it was me alone. Like the concept of like the self-made man, it's really, I mean, it's not that, I mean, obviously I am someone who starts things.
Yeah.
But this idea that you start something and like you somehow do it alone is ridiculous. Like we all need people, and it's not that just we need people. We need the entire society. Like, we benefit from the roads. We benefit from the people who fought in the Revolutionary War and gave us this country.
Sure.
Like, there's a whole, like, universe that we depend on to start new things today. And so, but for me, it's like it was very palpable, the joy of sharing the good times. And also, because, having, a couple of companies that have been around for couple decades plus, we've had some really, really bad times. And it's also sharing the bad times is what allows you to get through it.
It gives you that fuel to keep going and be motivated, right?
Yeah, you motivate each other.
Yeah.
And say, like, let's, like, as long as we're together, we can get through this.
And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but your success with Jackbox and everything else probably gives you the confidence that Unify America can make a difference.
It does. I mean, for sure. I feel like, I mean, at a much smaller scale, obviously. I mean, Jellyvision at its largest was, maybe 450 people. But even at that scale, and it's not like it's not a perfect place, right? There's like no nirvana.
Sure.
But people wanted to help each other because there was a culture of people helping each other. Salespeople who were on individual commissions would take time out to help other salespeople, even though it wasn't necessarily directly benefiting them, just because it was the right thing to do, and someone had helped them when they started off. And so I feel like, again, if you put people into a situation where you ask them to be their best, people want to be their best.
Of course.
People want it. But ask them and expect it of them, and start off with a culture where that is the norm, and then people they'll step up to it. I mean, it's during this tour when I was speaking to all of these, Republicans and Trump voters, people that the people around here almost never talk to. Mm-hmm. They were great. I loved them. And I think so many of the stereotypes that we have were just blown up for me in these interviews.
How did you meet them? Who introduced you?
We did a whole bunch of networking. I got really lucky. Another person from Jellyvision, Mary Beth Wynn, who had been our VP of People, was helping me find someone to travel with who was, kind of my political opposite, at least historically. And I found this woman, Alexa DeMuzio, who she was 32. She was recently pregnant, had voted for Trump, evangelical Christian upbringing, actually Catholic, converted to evangelical Christianity, North Carolina. So she's from the South. Mm-hmm. And so she had an amazing network and was an incredible traveling companion. And so she was a huge help. And I think also made people feel a little bit more at ease, as opposed to here's this Jew from Chicago, It's who is this? But there was so much misunderstanding because we're not talking to each other. Yeah. There's so much misunderstanding. I think some of the assumptions that we have because someone voted for Donald Trump and has all of these issues for Donald Trump, that somehow that means the people who voted for them are whatever, racist, xenophobic, sexist, don't care about X, Y, and Z. And of course, I'm sure those people exist. And those are the people that the news shows us because it's more interesting. There's more conflict. It's the news
sells.
It sells. And again, I'm not bashing the news. I mean, the news exists to show us what is new and to tell us stories about what is new. And as a storyteller, you can't tell a story without conflict. It's not a story. Mm-hmm. But that is also the bind, because we look to our news sources for information to help us be public citizens. And sometimes that information is really critical, when news organizations are uncovering corruption, et cetera. A lot of times it's not the information we need, and it's certainly not the information that we need to help us make national decisions. I mean, if you walked into a group of policymakers and you saw them on the internet checking out Fox and New York Times and looking at social media feeds for their information to develop policy, you'd be like, what the hell is going on in here?
Right.
You don't get that from the news. You get that from research. But where's the source for Americans to actually access that research in a way that's easy to understand and engaging and all collected in one place? If you're I'm against the border wall. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the work that you've done to look at like other forms of regulating the border and the pros and cons you looked at for that, and how you arrived at the conclusion that the border wall is not the best approach and what might be a better approach. And
actually look at the information.
Yeah, but it's like it's ridiculous to suggest that like any person who's like got a life to live and work to do and like children to raise and whatever, there's no easy place to do that. Unify America is going to actually make that possible.
So are you hiring employees and starting to grow this?
Yes.
Yeah. And is it going to be based right here in Evanston?
It's going to be based everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a national movement. I mean, I happen to live in Evanston, but Michelle, who I mentioned earlier, she's in Denver. Alexa's in North Carolina. It's going to be a national movement. Eventually, we'll have offices, probably in all 50 states, and in some cases, multiple offices.
Where can people go online to learn about it and to follow what's going on with it and become involved?
Yeah, they can go to unifyamerica.org, and there's a little sign up at the bottom. Our website is in kind of a nascent state, but and one of the things that we're going to be looking for people to do is to take this survey, and they'll be able to sort of like see for themselves how much they are kind of in line with the whole rest of the country in terms of our national goals.
I think it's a great way to kind of bring people together.
I hope so.
Yeah. And also, if people want to download some fun games or figure out how to pick the best health insurance plans for themselves, where should they go to find out?
So if you're an employer and you want to help your employees select their benefits in a way that makes it fun and easy and eliminate confusion, you should go to jellyvision.com and learn about our product called Alex. And if you want to have a great time playing games with your family and friends in a party atmosphere, you should go to jackboxgames.com.
And you have apps and everything on all these different platforms, so people can download them there.
Yeah, or we'll link you to, if you have a PlayStation, we'll link you to the right place, or if you have you want to use your PC, we'll link you to the right place, etc.
Yeah. Well, Harry, I think that you've had quite a unique and interesting life so far, and I can't wait to see what comes of Unify America, because we do so greatly need this. We need to come together as humanity and figure out the solutions and not be fighting with each other all the time. And I appreciate you doing this.
That's so nice of you to say. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you for being on the show, and thanks everybody for listening. Hey everyone, this is Aaron again. Just wanted to thank you all for listening to the show, and hope you all stay safe and healthy. Like I said, please follow Inside the Skev on Facebook and on Instagram and on Twitter, and also Aaron Maslansky on LinkedIn. I'll be posting more things that I do throughout this crisis to give some hope and support and show how people are coping and coming up with new ideas and ways to get through this, and think of the future, really to evaluate it and how to deal with where we are now and where we're going to be. So thanks again for listening. Also go to skevinson.com for more information. Thank you.